I'm going to be honest. This is kind of a sad episode. The reason it's sad is because this is our last trade targets video of the year. Your trade deadlines are coming up. Can you believe that we are this far into the season? But we're going to play a little buy, sell, hold with 8 guys to hopefully help you get the championship squad. And it only took us 11 trade videos to realize, hey, maybe we should just clarify what we mean by buy, sell, hold. And we don't mean that in every situation you're buying this player that you should be spending a crazy amount. Buy is we genuinely believe that the guy is going to get better. Sell, we believe that it's going to get worse from here. And hold, we don't think that you can get the value either way for where this player is going to be at. That's essentially what those three mean. And we're going to start this with Nico Collins, who, Ty, it's been disappointing, but now we're starting to get exciting again. Are you buying into that? Like, is Nico Collins back? Is this just because Davis Mills is playing quarterback? Is this like a Brian Thomas with Mac Jones situation? What is going on with Nico Collins?
What a world that we're in, that we're even contemplating. Maybe Davis Mills is kind of a solution here for Nico Collins. I personally am not. I don't have a strong conviction one way or the other. If I had to not, if I can't fence sit in this episode and I have to choose a side, I feel like Nico is a guy that has enough name value still at this moment that you can still get if you look to sell, you would get a decent return for him. Now, at the same time, Nico Collins is one of these kind of like ultra talented wide receivers that you have to understand that if you move off of Nico Collins, don't be surprised if performances turn around, because the offense either just kind of funnels it down and consolidates to just trying to get Nico Collins the ball. That's what we've seen the last couple of weeks: 15 targets, 11 targets, 10 targets. Those are positive signs to see. So I feel like you can try to sell, but at the same time, I don't know if he's really a player that I want to target to buy, because this kind of feels like discount Jamar Chase with Joe Flacco in some ways, where I don't see that this Houston offense is what the Houston offense was last year or 2 years ago, where we saw the big performances from Nico Collins. So you're not going to have the big kind of explosive games. You're not going to have the big boom games or anything like that. But if he kind of PPR scams his way, if he just kind of racks up receptions and targets to at least be kind of a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2, then it's fine. But again, I don't know if that's exactly who you want to target at this point in the season if you're trying to build a contending roster, because I don't know, again, that upside for Nico Collins isn't what we were hoping it would be at the beginning of this year.
So I'd agree. I don't think it's quite as high, right? He was a guy I was hoping, hey, maybe he'd be a dark horse wide receiver 1. We'd really see the full breakout, crazy volume coming his way. We haven't seen that, but I'm buying on this last 3 games. I'm buying on the 10, 11, 15 targets. I believe in the talent. I think he's a guy that they're going to go, hey, our offense has to run through Nico Collins. It cannot go anywhere else, right? We don't have a run game. Our rookie wide receivers aren't, lighting the world on fire at this point. They haven't been bad. Jalen Noel's been fun, in the slot playing here and there. Jaden Higgins has had a couple all right games lately. So I just think that Nico, that we're finally seeing them go, hey, we have to get this guy volume. The touchdowns are going to come. He's been a touchdown guy. So I hear what you're saying, Ty, that maybe the name value is just too high, but for me, I'm willing to buy on that. He's been slightly disappointing, and I think we're going to get back to what we saw at the beginning of last season before he got hurt.
I feel like he is a perfect kind of buy if you are on the fringe of making the playoffs and you need like one player to like really solidify your spot into the playoffs and give yourself like a better chance at making a run for the championship. Nico Collins is like the perfect guy to kind of like get you into that upper echelon of teams in your league. But like I said, I still struggle to think like, what's the investment for if you are one of your top 2 teams in the league? Like the investment that you make in Nico Collins is then your wide receiver 3, which sure, like that has some merit to it. I won't like completely dismiss it, but I feel like this is the buy again for those like 5-5 teams, those 6-4 teams, those even 4-6 teams. Like you need just one more player to get yourself over the edge. Yeah, Nico Collins should be your guy then.
For me, he feels like the cheapest player that I think could finish as a top 10 wide receiver at the end of the season that you can get right now. That's where I see Nico. Obviously, it's not like getting Drake London or Devontae Adams or, Jamar Chase or something like obviously those guys are a different tier, but it's not like getting one of those players where we've seen it consistently this year, right? We have to project a little. I'm projecting a little bit with Nico, so I understand the risk there for sure. Before we move on to our next guy, who's definitely got a lot of name value to him right now, we want to just make sure that you remember we're back. We want to apologize one more time for this last week. One of us, we won't name names, clicked on something they shouldn't and lost us control of the account for a week. But the good people at Google and YouTube helped us get it back.
Whoever that was,
I realized that might have sounded like it could have been Lucas. It was not Lucas. I take full blame for that. But they helped us get it back. We are back. We are not going anywhere. So do not worry. Our 1 week hiatus is over. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications because we got episodes coming for you every single week throughout the season, the entire offseason. If you're into the dynasty content, draft content, and you don't want to miss it. Like I said, this next guy, Ty, a lot of name value here. Brock Bowers. And when he came back from that injury, it looked like, oh my gosh, he's going to light the world on fire. 37.3 points coming off the bye, and then plays Denver and he scores 3.2, has 1 catch. Is Brock Bowers back? Should I be selling on the name value and the big game and people still thinking he has it? Should I be giving up? If you're going to go get Brock Bowers right now, you got to give up like a high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver. Like that's the price range. So you're not giving up another tight end to go get him. You're giving up a star wide receiver to go get him. So which direction are you going with Bowers? Do you trust him or are you like, hey, take the name value and get what you can get?
I want to start with this. I think to make a decision for Brock Bowers based solely on this game against Denver is a little bit of we're being too quick to judge for Brock Bowers. A 10-7 game in a 10-7 division game, right? Where neither team looked good. And like we've known that Vegas has struggled all year. So that one didn't really come as a surprise. It was really the Denver side of it that was like, whoa, that's odd. Again, I don't want to make such a harsh judgment or a quick judgment based on one game. But if we combine the Jacksonville game and the Denver game, I feel like that's a perfect picture of what you're about to get for Brock Bowers the rest of the way. When this team is semi-functioning, is semi-like moving forward in a cohesive unit, Brock Bowers can have himself a good day. When it's dysfunctional, when nothing can get going, Brock Bowers will kind of fall flat on his face and will only give you like 3 points then for your week. Now, you get Dallas, you get Cleveland, and the Chargers. Then Denver again. I maybe like 2 of those. Maybe. Where Dallas's defense, you can pretty much do anything against Dallas's defense.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Even Geno might look good.
Right. Geno may look like the former Geno Smith in that game. Cleveland, because their offense is so dysfunctional as well, you maybe will get a Brock Bowers game. But again, like you think about the safeties or the linebackers, maybe even the corners that have to guard him because they are using Brock Bowers kind of everywhere in the formation. I don't, that one feels like it could be a trap game, but then going Chargers, Denver, and even Philly, Houston right after that, it is a brutal stretch for Brock Bowers and really for this whole Vegas offense to try to build some momentum. So honestly, I think if I'm a Brock Bowers manager, I am just going to go try to sell right now and not try to deal with the headache, I don't want to deal with the inconsistencies, the frustrations, all of those things that come with a piece of this Vegas offense. Because the same thing would go for a guy like Ashton Genty, where it's just like, man, they're going to give him the rock, but because the state of the offense is just so bad, it doesn't really matter how good you are. The situation just kind of puts a damper on the whole outlook of things. So the problem then, though, I'll pose back to you is that, like, if you do sell Brock Bowers, who are you targeting? Right? Because obviously, like, you can target Brock, like you can trade Brock Bowers for a running back or a receiver, but one, who, and then two, which tight end are you getting in replace of him? Because at the same time, Brock Bowers' ceiling is a lot different and a lot higher than some of the other tight ends that you would have to play instead of him.
For sure. And that's the thing is that you're only, I think he's a sell personally, because I can't trust what I've seen from Geno moving forward. Ashton Genty, I think he might be a buy, but I think he's a little more proof of Geno. But even then, it's still risky with Geno, the way Geno's been playing quarterback and the way the offense has been moving. I pulled up the Fantasy Pros rest of the season rankings. These are the players they have right after Brock Bowers: Nico Collins, George Pickens, Lad McConkey, Rome Odunze, Chase Brown, T. Higgins, Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, Devonta Smith. I think I'm trading Brock for all those guys, almost.
Honestly.
Except maybe not Bucky, just because I have no idea if he's going to play again. But that's what we're saying. That's what I'm saying is, if you can sell and somebody's like, I think he's back, I think he's tight end 1 overall, I'm good moving on and having to just stream a tight end then, because I think that getting one of those guys, like if I don't know if you're actually going to get this in the league. I really don't believe you will. A Brock Bowers for Nico Collins straight up. If you can pull that off, though, I'm taking Nico like that. Like there was no thought for me in that situation. But I think you have to get something good, because, right, if you get down in like the Michael Pittman, Marvin Harrison, range, then I'd rather take the shot there on Brock Bowers. I'd rather have Brock Bowers on my team. So that's the issue with, especially a guy tight ends, because they're not in that, right? It's hard to do a 1-for-1 tight end to wide receiver, tight end to running back, because it's going to be so league dependent, so manager dependent on what you can do. So if you can get a borderline wide receiver 1, borderline running back 1, absolutely, I'm all in. If you're getting a guy who's mid to low wide receiver 1 or running back 1 or running back 2, excuse me, not running back 1, then I think I'm going to hold on Brock Bowers.
I would even say, like, if you want to go target like another tight end, the one name that comes to mind right away is George Kittle.
Yes.
Where you may get some down games from George Kittle because it's George Kittle. That's kind of what you get with George Kittle. But at least you know that there's an opportunity to bounce back, right? Because of the offense, because of their schedule. With Brock Bowers, you're going to be consistently questioning, like, is he going to be able to bounce back? If he, I just looked, that 4-game stretch, right after the Cleveland game is absolutely brutal. Can't express that enough. Absolutely brutal for him. I would hate going through that stretch every single week. Again, asking myself, man, I'm trying to push for the playoffs, or we're in the middle, or we're at the start of playoffs. I need something more consistent. And I don't know if Brock Bowers is going to give you that. So I like George Kittle is the one, like, tight end that comes to mind right away of just like, right, there's some assurance knowing, yes, offense is better. Kittle can still have some really good games. Even when there's bad games, that there's an opportunity to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Bowers' second hardest tight end schedule rest of the season. And it's going to be tough to overcome when you got an offense that's been dysfunctional. I don't know about you, but I would trade Brock Bowers for this next guy, Derrick Henry, straight up.
Oh, absolutely.
I would take it and run. So if you got that in your league, I don't think you will, but if you had that, I'm yes, please take it to the bank. I think I just, I might have to report myself for a crime, because I think I just got away with robbery there. Derrick Henry is an interesting one, Ty, because as of now, it's been disappointing, which is crazy to say, because he's still on pace for almost 1,400 rushing yards in his age. What is he, 31 or 32? His in his age
He's an
31
oldie.
season. Yes, he shouldn't be doing this at this age. We do want to say quick congrats to Derrick Henry. Finally has more yards in the NFL than he did in high school. For those of you counting at home, he's played 10, 11 seasons now in the NFL and played 4 in high school. And they did not play 16 games either, and he just eclipsed that, which is insane. He's been getting the volume now that Lamar is back, 19 and 20 rush attempts in the last 2 games, but we've only seen 12.6 and 9.9 half PPR fantasy points, only 11 receptions on the year, which, is kind of a given at this point. So do you think we're going to see Henry return to what we saw last year where you're okay going to pay for him? Or do you think it's going to kind of be a little more of this middling from Derrick Henry the rest of the season?
This is a very interesting one for me because with Lamar Jackson back in this Baltimore offense, they are going to be better, which helps out Derrick Henry. We saw when Lamar was out and Baltimore was playing from behind, Derrick Henry saw limited action. So having Lamar back helps out. It gives a brighter outlook for Derrick Henry. I find this interesting. In their 2 games, right, since Lamar has come back against Miami, against Minnesota, Derrick Henry has only gotten 5 rushing attempts inside the 20.
Yeah.
I know that the Baltimore performance against Minnesota wasn't spectacular.
It was a weird game for that offense.
It was a weird game. But my point is that in the weirdest way, I'm kind of concerned that Derrick Henry is just kind of a volume guy where you're banking on yards and hopefully falling into the end zone. That's wild to think about, obviously, because it's Derrick Henry, but like, I don't want to put too much emphasis or too much weight into one play, but Baltimore had the ball on the 1 yard line and Justice Hill got the ball, which
why?
You have Derrick Henry for those kind of situations. So again, in some weird way, I'm worried that Derrick Henry's touchdowns aren't. This could totally backfire. I totally recognize that. I'm kind of worried that this Baltimore offense is just different enough that it's going to impact the touchdowns for Derrick Henry. So he kind of stays as that middling kind of high end running back 2. Yeah, he does have running back 1 upside, but he needs to find the end zone. And I don't know how often we'll find that at this point. Now, 2-game sample in 2 pretty weird games. Like that Miami game was also kind of strange. It took a while for them to get going. So all in all, to say this, I feel like Derrick Henry is the Nico Collins of running backs, in the sense that if you're a contending team, he's not someone that I'm targeting because I'm not sure Derrick Henry kind of pushes your team even further up and away from the rest of the teams in your league. But if you need just one running back piece to kind of get you up and to make you like a serious contender, Derrick Henry is that guy for you then.
Yeah, I do think he's kind of a hold. Is honestly where I'm at right now, just because I think name value props him up enough. I do agree. I think he's like a buy if you can buy as a luxury kind of is kind of where I'm at.
Sure.
Just because we're not seeing the crazy efficiency we saw last season. So even if it is 5 yards per carry where he's at instead of 6, you still need 20 carries a game, which he's getting. But you need that touchdown every single week. And I will be honest, if you need to win 2 games to get into the playoffs, he does, well, I guess 1 game to get into the playoffs, and then you need to win 1 game, the first game in the playoffs. He does play Cincinnati in week 13 and week 15, and could have 300 fantasy points in those 2 weeks combined.
True.
We saw what Jonathan Taylor just did. That could be both weeks for Derrick Henry against that Cincinnati defense. So I do want to acknowledge that he's still going to have some spike weeks. I just worry that you could have a run like this in in the playoffs against Green Bay and New England, where he was good. He had 120 rush yards and 79 rush yards. Saw the volume, but he just doesn't score either of those games, and you're like, all right, well, I got 12 and 8 points from my star running back. So that's why he's a hold to me. I just worry a little bit about the floor with Derrick Henry. But like you said, Ty, I'm not going to ever again in my life, I don't care how he looks, going to say he's a sell, because every time you try to even mention the word, you're wrong.
Yep.
I'm saying I maybe wouldn't buy on Derrick Henry is all I'm saying, but I'm not selling for sure.
Right. If there's a definite in this, you're not selling Derrick Henry.
Unless it's Jonathan Taylor. That one I feel safe about. I don't think he's going to outproduce Jonathan Taylor.
Christian McCaffrey?
See, I don't know, Ty. He might make
really?
Well, I'm just saying, every time we speak poorly of Derrick Henry, he goes, do you know who I am?
Yeah, right.
Just puts up 40 points in a row, like 6 games in a row. So
that's true. Again, you're not selling Derrick Henry in any circumstance.
No, I would not. This next player, I'm going to talk about him quick because I know you're going to have a lot of thoughts on Rome, because I know it's been an up and down and all around season. You thought you had your guy at the beginning of the year, and then we see like a goose egg against Cincinnati, but then he comes back this week. Rome is a confusing one right now. I think we could all agree on that. He's the wide receiver 13. He felt like it over the first 4 games and has definitely not felt like it since the bye, which is honestly the opposite of what we thought was going to happen. If he's playing good into the bye, and then we don't throw the ball to Rome Odunze anymore. It doesn't make a lot of sense. He doesn't have a great schedule for the rest of the year. Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Philly, at Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, at San Francisco. Not exactly ideal. Caleb Williams is putting up points in the last couple of games, albeit against Washington, New Orleans, Baltimore, and the Giants. So not exactly fantastic. And he didn't even put up points in all of those games. It's just that's been his last 5 games he's had. He did play Detroit, Dallas, Vegas, and Minnesota before that. So it's been a pretty easy schedule. Am I hearing fraudulent team over in Chicago? Because that's what I might be thinking here. Fraudulent 6-3. I don't know.
Well, it helps when you play the Saints, you play the Bengals, and it looks scary against the Giants, but then the Giants kind of, once Jackson Dart kind of left, and then yes. Yeah,
Brian Dable decided he didn't want the job anymore. Right. So all that to say, I don't know what to do with Rome Odunze, and I really want to hear your opinion, because I think I want to say he's a buy, but I don't think I can get there because I just am not convinced that we're going to see the consistency to have to pay high-end wide receiver 2 price for Rome Odunze.
So I will start with this. If you know that the manager's like not trusting Rome Odunze at all, go send a feeler, right? There are a lot of worse players that you could be buying at this point in the season, and Rome Odunze is one of the better ones. That being said, I hate to say this, but I wonder if Rome Odunze is a bit matchup dependent. His 2 good games the last 3 weeks, Baltimore and the Giants, play a ton of man coverage. Ooh. And Rome Odunze all year, even last year, was the man coverage beater for Caleb Williams. When you look at Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Philly, Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, San Francisco, Detroit, there's not a ton of man coverage teams in that stretch. So I don't think it's as simple as well, Rome Odunze can't beat, or can't win in zone coverage, so he can't have any good games. That's not what I'm saying at all. All that I'm saying is it feels like Ben Johnson right now with this Chicago team is, I don't want to say he's simplifying it, but he is pinpointing for Caleb, or at least trying to help him out in saying, this is the defense that we're getting. These are the guys that will succeed. These are the guys that are going to have a tougher time. If you can get them the ball, cool. But these are the guys that you want to try and get them the ball as much as possible. So Rome Odunze, I hate to say this as well, I don't think we see that kind of top 12 wide receiver 13 or higher consistency the rest of the year. And obviously, like, there's no fantasy player is ever going to give you 7 straight games of wide receiver 13, wide receiver 12 or better performances. If they are the undisputed GOAT and should go into the Hall of Fame right away.
They are JSN, essentially, is who they are.
True. That's very fair. I just feel like there is an upcoming dip in production that could backfire on us. So I'm going to look to sell Rome Odunze.
I think that's probably the right answer. And it hurts to say.
It hurts to say it. And I really, really hope that Rome Odunze can prove us all wrong, that, like, no, he is actually kind of the alpha here. But I really do think the Chicago offense, really the Chicago team, though, yeah, you brought up that they're kind of, you threw out the word fraudulent. You said the F word. Wasn't going to go there, but you said it. They are doing whatever they can to just win games. And it's showing up in the fantasy box scores, right? The game against Cincinnati is a prime example. So I'm worried just enough about the outlook for Rome Odunze that the potential dip in production, maybe more so the hit in the ceiling the rest of the year. That's what forces me to say that he's a sell. And to try to tier, I'll throw this back to you. Can you tier up with Rome Odunze? Because I'm not sure you can.
Yeah, it'd be hard to. Maybe you get a Devontae Adams.
Right, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, if you could do Rome plus to go get, like,
now like the back injury maybe throws a wrench into things, but like just on the surface of just like Rams wide receiver in one of the best passing offenses in this season compared to Rome Odunze, where you're going to get some inconsistencies, I would definitely opt Devontae Adams. Again, when the playing field is equal and even.
Nico or Rome, where are you at?
I probably lean Nico.
I'm going Nico there. Pickens or Rome. I think I'm Pickens.
I think I'm Pickens too, just slightly.
Lad McConkey or Rome.
That one's pretty easy for me. Lad McConkey.
I would agree. T. Higgins or Rome.
I think I would go Rome.
I think I'm T.
That's a coin flip one. You could ask me tomorrow and I might say T. Higgins.
Last one. This is Devonta Smith or Rome.
Oh, gosh, why you just wanted to do this so you can victory lap it. Maybe this is the best way to say it. Rome Odunze is probably closer to T. Higgins than he is to a Nico Collins or Lad McConkey for the rest of the year. That's how I see it.
I would agree with that 100%.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog, where you can get into the game this season playing Pick'em. It's extremely simple. Just pick higher or lower on 2 or more of your favorite players. For example, I'll pick the higher on Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Xavier Worthy. If I played $10 and got all 3 of them right, I would win $60 just by watching football. And that's the beauty of Pick'em. You can track your picks and your wins while you enjoy the game. Now, if you're not on Underdog yet, scan the QR code on your screen or use our code FELLAS when you sign up, because new customers will get $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5 on the app. Plus, Underdog will give you a free pick to use in your first entry. Again, that's code FELLAS over on Underdog. Now let's get you back to the rest of the show.
And we're back, and we're going to stay at the wide receiver position here. We're going to go up 2 spots from the wide receiver 13 to the wide receiver 11 and Chris Olave. And we do want to acknowledge that Chris Olave is on his bye this week. So we understand that, but we still wanted to talk to him because for many of you, your trade deadline is closing this week or next week. So it doesn't matter if he's on bye. You still have to make the decision on whether you want him on your team moving forward or not. He has been the PPR man. If you looked at Rome has 69 targets on the season. Chris Olave has 60 receptions on the season so far. He has 95 targets, which is second to only Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase had 23 and 16 targets in back-to-back games. So it's been impressive how many receptions he's had, and yet he's still barely top 10 in receiving yards. So we were seeing both sides of the coin of get all the volume, but you're on one of the worst offenses in the NFL. So here's what happens. Coming off a pretty good game, Tyler Shuck doesn't look as bad as I thought. I will admit I'm pleasantly surprised, I guess you could say, with him out there compared to what I thought he was going to perform at, which was honestly very low. Ty, are you looking to buy Chris Olave? Is he kind of just, this is where he's at, this is what he's going to be? So if you want that type of player, you can go get him. So he's a hold. I think that's where I land with him is I don't think much changes for Olave moving forward. I think this is just who he is. And if you want a PPR guy with not crazy upside who's going to put up consistent points, go trade for him. But if you don't want him, then don't trade for him.
Yeah. I feel like the cop out here is that like the touchdowns are going to sell him, right? That you're going to be stuck with just kind of a high end wide receiver 3, low end wide receiver 2 because the touchdowns won't be there. I feel like that's a cop out, but there is some merit to it, right? I think how many games are we going to get the rest of the year where the Saints can kind of control the game, right? Where they can make a confusing Carolina team look like the worst team in the league again. When you have Atlanta, Miami, Tampa Bay, Carolina again, the Jets, the Titans, and the Falcons. I maybe get 2 games of where Chris Olave and this whole Saints team can be in control, and that's where you'll see the best of Chris Olave. I will also acknowledge if you just need a steady 8, 9, 10 fantasy points in half PPR, in full PPR, it's obviously different. But if you just need like, I just need a floor. I need a steady Eddie. This is Chris Olave. This would be your guy. There is, despite the usage and despite the role that he has in this New Orleans offense, that price is just always going to be low just because it's Tyler Shuck, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the Saints. So if I'm a Chris Olave manager, I would probably just hold, honestly, because I don't think that if you sell, you're going to get anything in return that is going to make you better off. Maybe it's the best way to say it. Because I also don't think you can tier up with a guy like Chris Olave. I feel like you got to package up Olave and then add in probably too much on top of Olave to really kind of tier up in an effective way. So I think for Chris Olave managers right now, just hold. You can do a lot worse for kind of a wide receiver 3 for a wide receiver 3 that can give you, wide receiver 2 upside depending on the matchup. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot you can do with Chris Olave at this moment, despite 95 targets so far this year.
All I'm gonna say is he's fancy Wan'Dale Robinson at this point. So,
Oh, dude, come on.
what's the difference between him and Wan'Dale Robinson? Let's be honest. Not a lot. So,
Actual route runner, and the other is just a slot scam.
Hey, Wan'Dale Robinson, top 20 wide receiver in half PPR formats. So, hate him all you want, but Chris Olave is just fancy Wan'Dale Robinson. They both about 11 yards per reception. Both are leading their teams in targets. Both are top 10 in targets. It's gross, but that's essentially where you're at. I think he's a hold. If you want to buy because you need consistent points at the wide receiver 3 position, I think I'd agree. I don't think he is worth trying to sell.
I will say real quick. Yes, the touchdown that I scored was a deep play. It gives me a little bit of hope. Just the tiniest amount of hope that with Rashid Shaheed out now, that Olave kind of takes some of those deep targets. Because I don't think Devon Vele is a burner.
What?
Shocker. Newsflash. Devon Vele, not a 4-4 guy. Brandon Cooks.
Maybe 7 years ago.
Yeah, 7 years ago. Probably give it 8 just to play it safe. Yeah, like it kind of has to be Chris Olave if they want to have some shot plays, which that's where the ceiling can also lie a little bit, is that like, hey, maybe he can walk away with, like, I go back to the New England game where he had 6 catches, 10 targets, 98 yards because he had a 53-yarder. That's kind of like the ceiling play most weeks if he doesn't score. The floor play is very, very similar to what we saw. What was it? In week 8, Tampa Bay, where he had double-digit targets. He had 8 catches and a little over 60 yards. That's typically what you're going to get. But if he gets the big play, he's then going to give you some double-digit performances, and you're not going to be complaining at that point.
Definitely. We're going to talk about our only other running back on this list, Travis Etienne. We talked about him a couple weeks ago. We were worried because we talked about him pre-bye. What does it look like coming out of the bye for Travis Etienne? And the answer is 22 and 16 carries, 5 and 4 targets. And can I be honest, Ty? I didn't think I'd say it, but I think I'm buying in on Travis Etienne rest of the season because I think this volume's sticky. I do. I don't think it's going away. I think they're going to rely on him. Brian Thomas has been disappointing, which hurts my heart a lot. And everything in me is hurting, is crying out in pain. But I think these 14-point half PPR performances are going to be kind of sticky. And yeah, so I have Travis Etienne as a buy.
Etienne. Oh man. I'm not gonna lie. He feels like fast Ramondre Stevenson, where at any moment we could get the Bashal Tutin emergence and he'll slowly start eating into his work, because the first, 4 weeks of the season, right, where he was consistently giving you double-digit fantasy points, you're like, this is the ETN show for the rest of the year. Then after that, 7, 7, 6, 14, and 14, because he found the end zone against Houston, and he had 5 catches for 31 yards against Vegas. The efficiency worries me, because that opens the door to a rookie starting to get more work.
It does.
But guess what? ETN has been way inconsistent with his efficiency. He's had games, right, because of his breakaway runs where he's gotten over 5 yards a carry. Then he's had games where he's had 3.5, 2.3, 3.8, and 3.6. Those 2 games, the most recent ones. So he has been efficient. So I think the question that you have to ask yourself is that, has Liam Cohen just accepted the fact that despite the inefficiencies, he trusts Etienne the most? I think that's what we've seen the last couple weeks.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
So it's gross because I feel like we could have some games like we did against like Kansas City, 12 carries for 49 yards. Seattle, 12 carries for 27 yards. Sprinkle in some receptions on top of it to kind of salvage the day as much as possible. Still only walk away with 7 fantasy points. Chargers, Cardinals, Titans, Colts, Jets, Broncos, Colts, Titans to finish out the year. Ain't too shabby.
No,
It's not too shabby. So like you said, because of the dysfunction in the passing game with Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter now out for the year.
Bummer.
Which is such a bummer.
That is such a bummer. He was just starting to get there.
We were legitimately like one game away from Travis Hunter probably being a league winner.
Yeah.
And
get a practice injury. Oh,
that's brutal.
Does not get worse.
I had an offer out for Travis Hunter in one of my leagues. And as soon as I saw that report that he went down non-contact, I pulled that offer out right away because it's like that's not good. Anyway, back to Etienne. I'm probably holding. If I have Etienne, I'm holding. Because he feels like Olave in the sense that I don't know if you're going to be able to tier up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to be able to go get like an upgrade at running back without having to like really sweeten the deal. But if I don't have Etienne, I'm going to be honest, I probably don't even want to send an offer for him.
Ooh. Oh.
So I don't want to say that like we shouldn't have had Etienne on this episode because I did just say I would not trade for or trade away Etienne. He shouldn't even be in trade conversations. That's
wow.
what I just said.
Brutal.
I'm sorry. Maybe the best way to say it, I don't feel strongly one way or the other. And I don't think that Etienne is a difference maker in the sense with the role that he has right now to, again, make a difference for your fantasy teams. If you were to acquire him, I'm rambling. You get the point that I'm trying to make. I can't really make up my mind, but at the end of the day, I just don't feel like he's someone that like you need to be like targeting or anything like that.
I think he's a buy because I think, like you said, I think Liam Cohen trusts him. He doesn't have a contract after this year, so they're not worried about putting, miles on the tread. So I think they're going to use him through the rest of the season because they're trying to make the playoffs. They still believe they can. They don't have a first next year, so they have no reason to lose. So I think they stick with Etienne until the wheels fall off, and I don't think that comes this season.
That's fair.
Moving on.
Fair warning. Chargers next week. Oof.
I don't even care. I don't even care. Remember the playoffs? Whatever. So now we got Tet McMillan, and this one hurts too because this one feels like you look at Tet and you're kind of like, yeah, he's doing really good. He's doing awesome this season, and then you go down and you're trying to find him on the list of players. And he's wide receiver 24. He's behind Troy Franklin and Wan'Dale Robinson right now, as far as half PPR players. And he has not had his bye week yet. So kind of gross. Last 4 weeks, 4.8, 13.4, 6.6, 8.5 half PPR points. Only one game with over 60 yards. Even in that Dallas game, week 6, where he had 16.4. It was only 3 catches for 29 yards. Just happened to have his only 2 touchdowns of the season. Bryce Young does not look better. This team is not scoring touchdowns. There's a lot to worry about for this entire team out of everybody except for Rico Dowdle, who's just had the reemergence that everybody thought he was going to in Carolina. I'm pretty sure that was industry consensus that Rico Dowdle was going to break out and be a top 5 rusher this season.
Just like we predicted. No,
just like we predicted. But yeah, I mean, he's been good with what he's got. It's just I don't think that's anything great. Do you see a second half breakout for Tet McMillan that you want to buy in on, or have we kind of already seen what we're going to get rest of the season for him?
So I go back to what you were saying at the beginning of the year when Lucas and I were kind of hot and bothered by Tet McMillan. So we thought this Carolina team would take a jump. And you said it best. He will go as far as Bryce Young takes him. I don't know about you. Bryce Young,
yeah, he's taking about 5 feet 9 inches in the air. That's about it.
That is, it's not been good from Bryce Young. So the question isn't necessarily will he take the jump, because I feel like that's a given if the offense takes the jump. If the offense takes a second half of the year jump, Tet McMillan becomes arguably one of the top receivers the rest of the year. So that's the question. Does Carolina take the jump? I don't think so. I feel like I've seen enough of this Carolina team so far to prove that there isn't enough good going on with this offense to build upon outside of the run game with Rico Dowdle. So this pains me. If I'm selling Tet, if I have Tet, I'm holding, right? Because I don't think it's wise to ever just kind of cut ties or to, jump off the ship early, still this early into the year when you still have the second half of the year. But I really hope you've got like an additional like rotational piece, like a wide receiver 4 or a third running back that you can throw into a flex. If I'm selling Tet McMillan just to get something in return, here's who I am definitely not selling Tet McMillan to. Any of the top 4 teams in your league. I'm not selling Tet to any of those teams because you're just kind of playing into their game of just taking on young, I don't want to say prime to break out guys because we're talking about Tet in the Carolina offense. You get one. I'll just wrap it up with this. If you have Tet McMillan, I would hold or try to sell to a team below you and try to get one of their better players. If possible, that's very generic. If possible, otherwise I'm holding and just kind of taking the punches as they come because it hasn't been great. I don't think it's going to get a whole lot better the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'm selling if somebody believes that he's getting this second half jump, right? You're selling if somebody offered me Devonta Smith for Tet McMillan right now, I'm taking Devonta Smith and I'm running. Right. It's something like that where this is a boring player. Let me go try and get someone exciting for Tet. Rome, Odunze, or Tet. That one's the one I've been waiting for. Which way are you going there?
I would lean Rome, which
I think that's where I'm at.
Rome probably has the lower floor than Tet just because Tet is kind of their only guy in the passing game. Yep. But Rome's ceiling is considerably better than Tet McMillan's.
And how about Chris Olave or Tet?
I'd probably just take the guarantees with Olave.
I think I am there. Here's
what I'll say. I in a 12-man league that I am in, here are my receivers. Lab McConkey, Rome Odunze, Stephon Diggs, Jameson Williams, Tet McMillan. And my running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kamani Vidal, Rico Dowdle, Bucky Irving. Look, I waiver God right here, okay? I have no shame in that. That kind of situation, I'm holding Tet because I'm like, I've got enough pieces that I can play over him. Yep. If I'm in a situation, if I'm in a situation where I'm like, I've got nothing behind Tet, I kind of need to make something happen. then go sell. Kind of like what you were saying. Then go sell to the person that believes that Tet McMillan can kind of emerge, or that this Carolina offense can take the step forward in the second half of the year.
Mm-hmm. Finally, you said it. It's time to have the conversation about Courtland Sutton, Troy Franklin, and what is going on in Denver. If I'm not mistaken, Troy Franklin has outscored Courtland Sutton in 3 of the last 4 games. He's out-targeted him in all of them, except for week 7. They tied with 10 targets. Is it scary hours right now for Courtland Sutton, because Troy Franklin has 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games, has seen no less than 8 targets. Yards haven't quite been there for Franklin, but is the bottom falling out for Courtland Sutton? Is he being replaced? Is this college connection that we kind of laughed about finally taking form here with the Oregon Ducks taking over Denver? Where do you lie with Courtland Sutton? Because I don't even know what to think about this. You're the one that brought it up, that we have to have this conversation, so I'm going to make you make a decision. And I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
You played yourself.
Yep.
We are approaching a very dangerous territory with Courtland Sutton called the sacrificial X role.
Mm-hmm.
That's the vibe that I get with Courtland Sutton at this moment. Is that to say that a sacrificial X can't have some decent games in fantasy? No. Like, Courtland Sutton can still have a good game every now and then. Just go back to the Giants game, right? My problem is when this offense was really, really simplified for Bo Nix last year, there was an emphasis to try to just get the ball into the best playmakers' hands. Courtland Sutton was one of those. I feel like because we are now in year 2 with Bo Nix and Sean Payton, we're expanding the offense a little bit. There's an emphasis on spreading the ball out. And I'll be honest, Courtland Sutton isn't exactly a separator. Isn't exactly the quickest guy. So just from very basic football philosophy, you got a guy that's able to get open a little bit more than Courtland Sutton. I feel like Bo Nix is going to be targeting that guy a little bit more. That's what he's been doing with Troy Franklin. So I don't think saying that Courtland Sutton is matchup dependent is the right way to describe it. I just feel like it's a conversation about how there is no like go-to guy in this offense. There is, like, again, what we saw last year with Courtland Sutton was just for that year. We're not getting that Courtland Sutton back. So if you know somebody in your league that believes that Courtland Sutton's coming back, that they are potentially buying like a top 16 wide receiver for the rest of the year, I would definitely go move Courtland Sutton over to that team. And like I said, at the top, he can still have some good games, but I'm expecting more of these just kind of low level these low floors, because again, there isn't the, I don't want to say the design, but there isn't his name isn't being called upon as much as it was in Bo Nix's rookie year. So I would just try to get out on Courtland Sutton while you can in some ways. And that sounds like I'm full blown panic. I'm not, but wide receiver 25 in usage since week 7. We were hoping that he can be kind of a high end wide receiver 2. He's being utilized as kind of a high end wide receiver 3. So again, I would just see what you can get. I would be very interested in moving on and probably targeting a running back, because I don't think you're going to get a receiver that you would want that is worthwhile, that kind of matches that kind of value on Courtland Sutton, or someone that exceeds it, I should say. This would be incredibly tough to do after his game this past week. You guys talked about the Patriots last week, or in last episode, about their remaining schedule for running backs. if you can package Courtland Sutton up and go get Travion Henderson, that's pretty easy for me to go get Travion Henderson.
Yeah.
Even a guy like, I'll let you answer this and then get your thoughts. Travis Etienne or Courtland Sutton.
I'm taking Travis Etienne. It feels like we're at the point that they've become budget. Budget is the key word. Budget. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Sutton's that outside guy. Troy Franklin's getting used across the middle. Troy Franklin's probably going to out volume him. Maybe, every once in a while the touchdowns will swing either way. But you're going to have more inconsistencies now with Courtland Sutton compared to what you've seen in the past. And remember, I'm saying budget, probably end of Russell Wilson's tenure in Seattle is more kind of the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett that you're getting. So I would agree. I think he's move off Courtland Sutton while you can. Right. It hasn't been sustained bad games, but I think we're getting into where the variability is going to be very high compared to the consistency you saw in weeks 1 through 5. And I think that's just really what it comes down to with him. Well, that wraps it up for us today. Our trade targets. We're going to be back tomorrow with some starts and sits.
A little long today.
We did go a little longer today. We really got into it. Next week, I don't remember what's on the agenda.
Oh, it's our top 40 running back and wide receiver rankings the rest of the year.
So that'll be a good one. That's going to replace it. And then week after is Thanksgiving. Can you believe we are 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving right now? That's insane.
This football season has absolutely
flown
by.
Which happens when you're having fun getting to watch JJ McCarthy light it up on a weekly basis. As a Vikings fan, that's really gonna. All right, I need to get off because we are rambling right now. So make sure you follow us on the socials. I'm at Camel FFF on the X, Tyler_Plath or Tyler FFLs for the Fellas page, the FFLs on Instagram, Fantasy Football Fellas, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Fantasy Football Fellas Shorts. If you want the short form content over on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and we will see you tomorrow. Deuces.